Capital cities are concrete in terms of their physical infrastructure, but not in terms of their permanent status. By this, I mean that a country can move its capital freely at any time. This has happened countless times throughout history. Sometimes it's for physical reasons, such as the destruction or inevitable destruction of the region that it finds itself in, like say sea level rise or an active volcano wiping out land. Sometimes it's for political reasons, like say moving closer to the centre of the country's population. And sometimes it's for defensive reasoning, like moving the capital further inland to protect itself from a foreign naval invasion. So let's take a look at the countries who have moved their capital in recent history, starting off with Burundi, a landlocked country found in Central-ish Africa. So in 2018, the government of Burundi decided to move its capital from Bujumbura to Gitega. A year later, and this process was pretty much complete. But why exactly did the government make this decision? Well, Bujumbura was located in the very west of the country on the shores of Lake Tanganyika, which by the way is a very impressive lake. It is the second largest by volume and the second deepest, in both cases after Lake Baikal in Siberia. It is also the world's longest freshwater lake. But anyway, back to the topic on hand. Burundi's new capital is found pretty much slap bang in the middle of the country. This country is rather small, so this means that accessing the capital from any part of the country doesn't take too long. Gitega was also historically the home of the Burundian monarchy. Moving their capital here is believed to help reconnect with its cultural heritage and symbols of national identity. Burundi is actually one of the poorest nations on Earth, so as you'd imagine its infrastructure isn't the greatest. Therefore, establishing a new capital allows the government to build new infrastructure and facilities. Tanzania is certainly one of the countries on Earth whose capital is the most commonly guessed wrong. Many people think that Dar es Salaam is its capital, as it's its largest and most well known, and actually once was the capital. However, its capital is actually Dodoma. In 1973, the decision was made to move the country's capital. This process actually took a couple of decades to fully complete. But in 1996, Dodoma was officially marked as the capital of the country. Just like Burundi, its former capital was found on the coast, but this time on the country's eastern coast. Dodoma, however, is found more central. The government of Tanzania hoped that moving its capital to a more central region would promote investments and infrastructure projects within the region. It also hoped to make the country more decentralized and spread out its development more evenly across the country. Nigeria. Nigeria is another country whose capital is often guessed incorrectly. With Lagos being by far the largest and most well known, most people would think that it is the capital, which was true until 1991 when the capital switched to Abuja. So why exactly did they move their capital? Well, just like our previous two countries, their previous capitals were located on the coast, whereas the new capital is more central. Lagos is also one of the most overcrowded and populated cities on the planet. Its metro population at the time of making this video is some 16 million and only projected to increase. Moving as capital was thought to help alleviate this issue. Moving to Abuja was also thought to symbolize Nigeria's commitment to national unity and decentralization. Kazakhstan is another country who moved its capital in recent times from Almaty to Astana. In 2019, Astana changed its name to Nur-Sultan as is known today, although many people and sources still call it by its old name. Almaty is found in the southeast of the country, whereas Nur-Sultan/Astana is found more central. And just like Lagos, although nowhere near as bad, Almaty was becoming overcrowded. Therefore, the government decided to move the capital to a new city. Kazakhstan also wanted to look more modern and future-facing, so moving its capital helped to increase new developments and infrastructure. The renaming of its capital was to honour its first president and to break away from its Soviet past. Myanmar has had one of the most infamous capital city moves in recent history. I'm sure we've all seen the images of their newly built capital being completely empty. The government built the infrastructure to house tens of millions of people, but that level of growth has yet to be seen. The previous capital city was Yangon, which can be found here in the country's south. In 2005, the government announced that it would be moving its capital to Naypyidaw, a brand new city. Construction actually secretly started in the early 2000s, and then in 2006 the move was complete. The main reason for this move was for defense. Moving the capital further inland protects it more than a city on the coast. The decision to move the capital came from Senior General Than Shwe, who was described as a bit of a crazy authoritarian figure. This move was seen as a bold, crazy, and by some, a waste of resources. Belize is another country whose capital is often guessed wrong. Many people might think that the capital is Belize City, which sounds about right? Well, it once was the capital, but in 1961 it suffered a devastating hurricane, which destroyed most of the city. 9 years later in 1970, the capital switched to Belmopan, which is found further inland, although not by much as the country is so small. In the early 2000s, the government of Palau decided to move its capital. In 2006, this transition was completed. The capital moved from Karo to Gurulmud. Although Karo is found more central in the country, it is found in a densely populated rock island region, which makes getting to a little tricky. So they moved the capital to Ngurulmud, which is easier to access. Moving its capital was also seen as a way to symbolize its sovereignty and assert its national identity, breaking away from its colonial past. In 1989, Micronesia moved its capital from Phnom Penh to Palikir, both of these cities being on the same island. The country consists of some 607 or so islands and is not to be confused with the region also known as Micronesia. The country's full UN name is the Federated States of Micronesia. Its total population is around 115,000. So just like most countries mentioned so far, Micronesia moved its capital to a more central location, providing it with more safety against tsunamis and typhoons. Brazil is one of the largest and most populated countries on Earth. Its two largest cities, Sao Paulo and Rio, have metro populations of 22 and 13 million respectively, but neither are its capital. Neither is Belo Horizonte, which is its third most populated. So until 1960, Rio actually was the capital until it was moved to its newly built city of Brasilia, which is found further inland and more central. Brazil's two powerhouse cities, being Rio and Sao Paulo, are both found on the coast, not too far from one another. So the government wanted to establish a new capital city to avoid all of its power sitting in one region. Brasilia was seen as this brand new, well-planned city, which would help to accelerate Brazil's growth and forward-looking identity. In the 1960s, the government of Pakistan decided to move its capital from Karachi to Islamabad. This switch became official in 1967, to which it is still the capital today. The change of capital cities for Pakistan was a defensive and strategic one. Karachi is a vulnerable coastal city found in the south, whereas Islamabad is found further central and inland towards the north, at the foothills of the Margala Hills, which provides some protection. As Pakistan's largest and most economically important city, the city saw overcrowding and traffic congestion. Moving the capital to a planned, purpose-built city was thought to have helped relieve the pressure from Karachi. Now, depending on when you're watching this video, there may be other countries who have moved their capitals. One of the most notorious case studies is Egypt. Egypt's current capital, Cairo, is one of the most iconic on Earth. It is hectic, overcrowded, and loud, but it is home to the pyramids, one of the greatest marvels on the planet. At the time of making this video, the country is moving its capital to New Cairo. The city is expected to cost around $60 billion US. For similar reasons to Cairo, Indonesia is also moving its capital from Jakarta to Nusantara, which is actually found on the island of Borneo. Its projected completion transition is August of 2024. Due to the immense power center of South Korea being found in its capital, Seoul, as well as it being found just a stone's throw away from its nuclear-armed arch-nemesis, the government of South Korea has long been in the process of hoping to move its capital to Sejong City, which can be found further south. Equatorial Guinea's capital city is found in a strange place. It's on an island and closer to Cameroon than it is to Equatorial Guinea. Its new capital is found on its mainland, within its central-ish forest area. And finally, there is the unique and interesting case of Montserrat, a British overseas territory with kind of no capital. This is because its capital, Plymouth, was completely destroyed in 1995 by a volcano. Its new capital, Little Bay, is currently under construction and said to replace Plymouth. So there we have it, some countries who have or are planning to move their capital cities. If you can think of any others, please do let us know in the comments below. Like and subscribe for more geography content, and as always, thank you so much for watching.